Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're unpacking the Golden Hilsa, a tale of miracles and greed. And this is way more than just a simple fable. It's actually a really profound reflection on human nature itself. We're going to be looking at a story that perfectly captures this incredibly delicate balance between sheer desperation, miraculous survival, and the dark, destructive pull of greed. Honestly, it's a story that kind of forces us to look in the mirror.
Okay, let's dive into this. Consider the big question we're tackling today. What actually happens when a miraculous blessing falls into greedy hands? It's a concept that sets the overarching moral theme for everything we are about to explore. When nature gives us something entirely extraordinary, do we cherish it with gratitude, or do we exploit it until it inevitably destroys us? Well, to find out, we're going to step into a small, quiet place called Mohanpur village.
So here in Mohanpur, we meet a guy named Chetan. He's a hardworking man trying to earn a meager living going door to door selling clothes, saris, lungis, towels, that sort of thing. He lives with his wife Nikita and their young daughter, Bina. And to say they were struggling, that would be a massive understatement. This family was facing extreme poverty. Just to put it into perspective, little Bina often survived on absolutely nothing but a small bowl of dry puffed rice, murmura, right? Because they had no lentils, no eggs, no regular rice. The sheer exhaustion of daily survival was their reality. And the scariest part? That was their life before a massive disaster struck.
Suddenly, everything changes. The pacing of their lives goes from this slow, grinding struggle to absolute chaos. A nearby river dam breaks. Morning of day one, the floodwaters violently and rapidly rush toward the village. Imagine the sheer terror. Chetan comes sprinting home completely breathless, shouting that the water is coming and they have to leave immediately. They literally have to drop everything and run for their lives into the night, escaping to higher ground and leaving their tiny home to be swallowed by the mud. For days, the village is entirely submerged, abandoned in a frantic rush to survive.
But I want to slow down and pause here for a second, because while the rest of the village fled, one extremely brave old woman stayed behind. She swore that if she was gonna die, it would be in her own home. As the waters surged, she managed to climb onto the roof of her small hut. For 3 agonizing days, she sat there completely alone. She survived on tiny handfuls of flattened rice, watching the water rise terrifyingly close to her feet. She even had wild snakes seek refuge on her roof right next to her, because as she noticed, when you're facing nature's raw wrath, animals and humans kind of forget their differences in the fight for survival. She witnessed the true power of the flood firsthand, and miraculously, she held on.
When the waters finally began to recede around day 4, the villagers slowly returned to their devastated homes. And that's when little Bina made an astonishing discovery in the muddy puddles. She found a glowing golden hilsa fish. Now, a hilsa surviving in shallow puddles is weird enough, but this fish, it was a literal miracle. Bina safely put it in a bucket of water, and very soon, the family realized this mysterious fish laid fresh, highly delicious eggs every single morning. For a family that was starving and surviving on dry puffed rice just days ago, this was an absolute lifeline. It was a pure blessing that gave them the sustenance they desperately needed in the harsh aftermath of the flood. And this brilliantly illustrates the core conflict of our story. We're looking at a stark contrast between two families. On one side, you have Chetan's family. They were quietly grateful. They kept the fish safe, they ate the eggs purely to survive the famine, and they treated the miracle with immense respect. But on the exact opposite side, we have their neighbors, Deepa and Deepak. When they heard rumors of this glowing fish, they didn't see a miracle, right? They saw dollar signs. They stole the fish and immediately began exploiting it, selling the eggs for a massive profit and dreaming of a life of endless luxury.
Listen to how ruthless Deepa and Deepak's plot actually was. It was incredibly calculated. Under the cover of darkness, they snuck into their neighbor's kitchen, spotted the strange golden glow, and just snatched the fish. And their plan wasn't to feed themselves. Nope, it was systematic hoarding. They cornered the market on these magical eggs. Deepak actually decided to stop working his regular job entirely, and Deepa started demanding luxury items like brand new red saris, acting like they'd tapped into infinite wealth. They even lied to the other villagers, claiming they bought the eggs cheaply from the city just so they could jack up the price to 500 rupees a day. It was just pure, unchecked greed.
Now, what's really interesting here is the immediate, disastrous cause and effect that unfolds next. When Chetan's family ate the eggs out of sheer necessity and gratitude, they were perfectly sustained, completely healthy. But the exact moment Deepa and Deepak monetized this miracle and sold the stolen eggs, absolute disaster. Every single villager who became a customer and ate those purchased eggs was struck by a severe, agonizing stomach illness.
What was once a life-saving blessing instantly transformed into a terrifying, sweeping local epidemic.
And unfortunately, this is where the story takes a truly dark and heartbreaking turn. Remember the brave old woman? The one who faced down the raging floodwaters and the snakes, surviving completely alone on her roof for days? Well, she was one of the innocent villagers who bought and ate those eggs from Deepa. Tragically, her elderly body just couldn't handle the mysterious sickness, and she passed away. Think about the heavy irony there. She survived the terrifying wrath of nature, only to be killed by the toxic fallout of human greed. It's a somber, devastating reminder of the ultimate cost when people carelessly exploit things they simply don't understand.
So consider this number, 0. That is exactly the amount of long-term happiness and success this theft actually brought to Deepa and Deepak. All their grand, arrogant plans of lounging around and living in luxury evaporated instantly. Because they too were gorging on the stolen eggs, they became deathly ill. They ended up completely bedridden, their bodies failing them, trapped in their home while the very village they tried to exploit was suffering all around them. No wealth in the world could save them from that. Which brings us to the turning point. The village, though terrified, started connecting the dots. They noticed a very clear pattern. The epidemic only targeted those who had purchased eggs from Deepak's house. Chetan's family, who had been brutally robbed of their only food source, remained completely untouched by the illness. Earlier, when Chetan confronted them, Deepa and Deepak had rudely denied everything. But now, as the villagers slowly recovered, the glaring truth pointed right at the greedy couple. Lying in bed, utterly defeated by their own sickness, they finally had to face their immense guilt. The wealth was totally useless, and the secret was literally toxic.
Let's move to and see how this builds toward a final resolution, because the balance of the village had to be restored. Step 1. A broken and fearful Deepak and Deepa finally confessed their crime to Chetan's family, desperately apologizing and begging for forgiveness before the angry village could turn on them. Step 2. The magical Golden Hilsa is safely returned to little Bina. But it's step 3 that is truly profound. Instead of hoarding the fish again, Chetan and his wife make a massive, enlightened decision. They realize that a miracle born from the wild river belongs to the wild river. Keeping it just invites trouble. So they take the glowing fish, thank it, and gently release it back into the deep waters.
By letting go of the magic, they actually made room for genuine blessings. Once the fish was returned to nature, the dark cloud over the village had lifted entirely. And look at what happened to Chetan's family. They didn't need a magical fish to find success. With the floodwaters gone and life returning to normal, Chetan's honest work selling clothes door to door began to prosper naturally. His sales skyrocketed. Their home was filled with abundance, but more importantly, it was filled with lasting peace. They earned their prosperity through hard, honest work, rather than trying to capture and cage a miracle.
Which leaves us with an incredibly powerful question. Can humans ever truly own the miracles of nature, or are they only ours to borrow? It's a fascinating thought, isn't it? When we try to lock away nature's blessings for our own selfish, greedy gain, it almost always turns toxic. But when we accept them with genuine gratitude, use them to survive, and crucially know exactly when to let them go, we find true contentment. I really hope this story gives you something deep to think about today. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and remember to keep questioning the world around you.